Hello students. So today we will discuss about different access methods in operating system. So in our previous video classes we have studied about the file system architecture. Okay, in file system architecture there is a level, the lowest level, that is the device driver, which is directly connected with the disk. Okay, so directly connected with the peripheral device, directly connected with the peripheral device. And finally, whenever a program was accessed by the user, it uses by using different types of access methods. Okay, so today we will discuss about the different access methods. Okay, different access methods. So as our previous video classes, we have learned only a simplest, commonly used access methods. Normally, access methods is the cheapest, simplest access method, that are the sequential access method. So normally there are different types of access methods as sequential access method, sequential access methods, index sequential access method, and direct access method. Okay, and direct access methods. In a sequential access method, every records of the file was stored in a particular sequence, in a specific order. Means orderly we are going to store different records. That thing already we have studied. Also we have given some example. Suppose there are 100 number of records and the current pointer position is 35, and again we want to move to 75. So from 35 to 75, sequentially one by one, it will be processed, and finally the device header or read header will reach at the record number 775. So this thing already we have learned, we have studied. So whenever a user access information from file, what type of what are the facilities, or how the operating system supports, in which way the user can access information from file. Normally operating system supports for sequential access method, index sequential access method, and direct access method. So today we will learn about the index sequential access method. Okay. That is index sequential access method. So here name is index sequential, means a sequential mechanism, index mechanism. The index mechanism is added with sequential access method. Okay, an index mechanism is added with sequential access method, so that searching of records will be faster because of this index mechanism. We are using a index mechanism. What are the types of index mechanism? How it works? That thing already we learned in database management system. So in file system of database management system or DBMS, we learn different types of index mechanism. But here in operating system, we will learn in other ways. So an index mechanism is added with this sequential file organization or sequential access method, that is the index sequential access method. So here the index mechanism is added to sequential access method, that is ISAM. That is ISAM, index sequential access method in OS, in operating system. Operating system has index sequential access method. Normally in sequential access method or SAM is already we have learned. Today we will learn about the ISAM. Index is added. Okay. So the IBMS user small master index is used, which points to the disk block of a secondary index. So here we are this exam process is done is first initiated by IBM, by International Business Machine. This IBM's users first uses this ISAM access method or ISAM method in operating system. So here there are two types of index as per the operating system concern. We will learn the main basic point is that whenever a disk block that stores the records, that will be of two types. But whenever we are storing in the second storage device, the device is partitioned to number of blocks. That blocks is your disk block. So pointer what pointer does? The pointer just pointing that particular location. So whenever a pointer points to the particular location, then operating system helps to access information from that position. Okay. In secondary storage device, there are a number of blocks, and each block is identified by its special address. That is the memory address or memory block address. So operating system uses a pointer. That pointer looks to a particular memory address, which is searching for. Suppose we are searching a record number 19. So 19 record number, we have a index file. That file has a pointer. So the pointer of the 19 record number will point out the location where information regarding the record number 19 are stored in secondary storage device. Okay. In this way, we are using this index mechanism that already we have learned in database management system. Similar way, then normally there are two types of index mechanism are used in operating system. So two types of index mechanism. Two types. One is your primary indexing. Second one is your secondary indexing. Okay. One is your primary indexing. There are two types of index mechanism that are used in operating system for ISAM, and that is introduced by the users, by the IBM's users. So IBM introduced two types of indexing. One is your primary indexing, second one is your secondary indexing. In the primary indexing, what happens? It contains a pointer to secondary index file. So in primary indexing, it contains a pointer, simply a pointer. It contains a pointer. This pointer, the pointer points to the memory block where that particular record is being stored. Okay. So this file, the primary index file, contains a pointer to secondary index file where pointers are actually stores data items. Okay. The pointer are stored actually data items. So really data items are stored in a device, in a specific block. The block has a specific address, a particular address. So the index file in the primary indexing has a pointer. This pointer points to the block. This pointer points to the block where records are stored. Okay, so this pointer to the secondary index file. Okay, so this pointer to the secondary index file. The primary indexing contains a pointer. That pointer points to the secondary index. So there are two types of indexing that is introduced by the IBM. So in primary indexing, what happens? In primary index file, it contains a pointer. The pointer points to the block of the secondary index file where the actual data are being stored. Okay, so this is the primary indexing. But what happens in the secondary indexing? In secondary indexing, that is also introduced by the IBM. This is also by IBM, International Business Machine, very good hardware company. So it designed this secondary indexing concept. Okay, so here the master index point to the disk block. So this concept says a master index is there. A master index point to the disk block. Okay, so in secondary indexing, that introduced by the IBM. So in secondary indexing, what happens? There is a master index. The master index normally points to the disk block of the secondary index. Okay, and the secondary index box points to the actual file blocks. So disk block in secondary index, and the secondary index points to the secondary index points to the actual file blocks. Okay, that means master index point to the disk block of the secondary index, and the secondary index points to the actual file block where the real data are being stored. Okay, the data are being stored. Okay, so in this way, two types of indexing is used, and the block is used for desired record. That means this block, this file block really stores the desired record. So the second what happens? There is a master index. In master index normally points to the disk block of the secondary index, and the secondary index points to the actual file blocks. In file blocks where the actual data are being stored, your real data are being stored. Now we can retrieve, we can access the desired records from this block because already we have gotten the pointer. So this block is searched sequentially. It is called index sequential because index mechanism is added and a sequential concept is there. So whenever we search the block, the searching of a block follows the sequential mechanism, a sequential method. And finally, the particular record can be located by this mechanism. So here index mechanism is added. So through index mechanism we can go to the block. Okay, through index mechanism we can reach at the block, but not exactly block. But from exactly block, again we have to solve that particular record because that block contains so many records. Okay, so it points to the block, but this block contains so many records. So to access the desired record, again we have to follow the sequential method, serially one by one. Again we will solve. So this is the concept of secondary indexing. So primary indexing, normally primary indexing contains a pointer that points to the secondary indexing. But in the secondary indexing, there is a master index. This master index points to the disk block of the secondary index, and the secondary index file points to the actual file block where data are being stored. And from file block, the desired record has to be searched. That searching process will be sequential, so that it is called index sequential access method. Okay, so in this way, the IBM introduces the index sequential access method in the operating system. Okay, so in this way, the operating system of the index sequential access method is designed by the IBM. First, this concept is introduced by the IBM, and IBM uses this ISAM method in operating system. Okay, so this is all about the index sequential access method. Okay, now another access mechanism is the direct file access method, or simply direct access method. Okay. Next one is your direct access method. Okay. So in direct access method, as per the concept, directly we can access, directly we can retrieve a digital record from the disk block. In case of sequential access method, sequentially we have to search, sequentially we have to store. Index sequential method, we are using index mechanism to search a record, and also here the index concept is there, and the sequential concept, sequential mechanism is also used. But in case of direct access method, directly we can find that particular location. Okay, so indirectly means instantly, immediately we can access information from the disk block. So operating system also supports to this type of access method, that is direct access methods. Okay, it is always called as relative access method. Sometimes some authors have referred it as relative access method. Okay, now in operating system, it is also termed as relative access method. So this method allows program to read and write records randomly. That means no particular order. Randomly we can write, we can read. Okay, randomly user or program to read or write. Program can read or write. User or program can read or write any desired record, any record randomly. That means no sequence, no specific order, no sequential order, randomly, directly. Okay, means immediately you can read or write. Okay, there is no specific, there is no specific order. No specific order. There is no specific order at all. Okay. The direct access method is based on the disk model of a file. Okay. That means it is totally based on disk model. It is based on disk model. It is based on disk model in direct access method. Okay. Since disk allows random access to any file of blocks, normally in disk model we are using hard disk, magnetic disk. This is not the magnetic tape. This is magnetic disk. In magnetic disk we are accessing information directly, and in the disk block also we are storing randomly. Okay, so randomly we can have, randomly or directly here we can store information, directly we can update, directly we can retrieve, directly we can delete. So all operations can be done directly in case of disk. So normally direct access methods is based on the disk model. So the disk model means allow random access to any file, any block that stores the file. For direct access, the file is viewed as a number of sequence of blocks and sort and records. So here number of blocks are there. Number of blocks, it is viewed as number of blocks. Okay, number of sequence of blocks or number of blocks, number of or sequence of blocks, and this blocks again stores number of records. Okay, blocks are also you can write here records. So it is a number of or sequence of blocks are there, and each block contains a sequence of records are there. That mechanism is well understood by the operating system for direct access method. Okay. And direct access file allows arbitrarily blocks to be read or written. So we can directly read or write any arbitrary block. So any arbitrary block can be accessed directly. Any arbitrary means we can read, we can write information from any arbitrary block of the secondary storage device. Okay. In the secondary storage device, that means we can read or write any arbitrary block. We can read. That means we can read. So here arbitrary block, we can read onto the arbitrary block. We can write all operations, read operation or write operation. We can read information from any arbitrary block. Also, we can write any information to the arbitrary block. So directly we can fetch a particular desired block of the memory where the desired records are being stored. Okay. So we can read block. Suppose we are reading block number 14. Suppose block number 14. From block number 14, directly we can jump to block number suppose 75. Okay. So if you suppose we are 14, so direct from block number 14 directly to jump to the block number 75. But in case sequential file, what happened? Whenever we are in 14, then we have to traverse from 14, 15, 17, 16, 17, 18 up to 74. Then after traversing all these records, then we will reach at the record number 75. But in case of here, directly you can move to block number 75. Okay. Also from 75 we can directly come to the record number 9. There will be no problem. So from block number 14 directly we can go to block number 75, and for block number 75 we can directly go to the block number 9. So this is the random. There is no sequence, any order. Okay, there is no specific order. Okay, and so on. That means there is no restriction reading or writing for directs. There is no restriction at all. So direct access file are the great used in immediate access to large amount of information. So immediately we can able to immediate access. It provides immediate response. Immediately access any records from the disk. Okay, immediately we can access any records from the large database file. Okay, now let's go for a different example. Okay, for example, suppose a disk consists of 256 blocks. Suppose a disk contains 256 blocks. 256 blocks. A disk contains 256 blocks. and the current position of a read or write head, suppose at 93, suppose head is at 93. That I have given on my note. Current position of the read or write head, suppose at 93th block. The block to be read or write 253 blocks. We can access 25th blocks directly from 93 to block without any restriction. So from block number 93, we can directly move to block number any 214 cells. The block head can directly move from 93 to 215. Okay, 215 directly. Just like your we are using CD. Suppose CD consists of 1000 number of iPod consisting of 1000 number of songs. So from song number 9 we can listen, we can play the song number 150. If it uses number of songs, so directly from any song number to any arbitrary song number. So directly you can move any number to any number. Okay. So the read head, in this access method, the read head directly can move from one block to another block. There is without any hesitation or without any restriction. There is no restriction. Whenever the head, read head or write head, jumps from 93 to 215, there is no restriction. There is no hesitation or no restriction. So in the direct you can move around 5. We can access, we can fetch the records from disk. Another example I can give you, generally in the airlines reservation system. Airlines reservation system. In airline reservation system, what happens? Instantly we are getting the updated value. That is very most popularly used nowadays. Directly we can get the immediately we are getting the updated values. So here in this method, what happens? It uses a computer to hash function. That uses the hash function, the hash technique for accessing. So in the airline reservation system, any time of accessing or any type of transaction, it provides the updated values. Okay, it provides the updated value. That means whenever any manipulation is done with this system, that is provides the updated value. So instantly or immediately the updated value was can be accessed by the users. So this is the online reservation system. Nowadays, online applications are day by day used, are growing on use of this online system is increasing. So in the online system, direct access mechanism is used as the online reservation system. So directly we can access anything, any information. There is no need to maintain sequential, no need to search sequential. Directly you can fetch that particular information. Just like your listening song from CD or iPod, or reservation for ticket booking or a reservation system. So this is about the direct access method that is also introduced by the IBM concept. So IBM the operating system concept is given. There are different types of access mechanism through which the programmers or users can access information or data from secondary storage device. So in this way, user can able to access file or information from file, either sequential access method or index sequential access method or direct access method. Normally this direct access method, it uses a hash function, hash mechanism. Already we have learned the hash mechanism in unit 2 of the database management system. So by using hash mechanism, by use of hash function, we can have direct file organization or direct access method. Directly we can fetch information from secondary storage device. Okay, so in this way we are accessing. Okay, so in this way we are accessing all informations. In this way we are accessing all informations directly from the disk. Okay, so this is all about the different access method that we have learned in file system architecture. In file system architecture, finally used program or finally user accesses or retrieve or get information in so many ways. That was you can follow any access method. The access method may be sequential access method. The access method may be index sequential access method or index access method or hash function. By using hash function, we can have user can have direct access method. So this is all about the direct access method. Okay, now index sequential access method, index sequential access method, and direct access